Namo Dhamma Jaya So Hai Ye Che Dang Su Ye Cho Nang La Chang Chu Ba Do Nan De Gyab Su Ji Da Ge Chu Nye Ji Be So Nang Ji Do La Ben Je Sang Ge Ju Ba Shu Che Dang Su Ye Cho Nang La Chang Chu Ba Do Nan De Gyab Su Ji Da Ge Chu Nye Ji Be So Nang Ji Do La Ben Je Sang Ge Ju Ba Shu Che Dang Su Ye Cho Nang La Chang Chu Ba Do Nan De Gyab Su Ji Da Ge Chu Nye Ji Be So Nang Ji Do La Ben Je Sang Ge Ju Ba Shu xie de ge zhu xin bei zhou zhang, xue ra ling xi ni de gen ba di, san jie xin de mi de mu wa ye, zhou ge nan da xin la jue ba zhu, gu zhu ren na men da la gang li ya da ya mi. Please adjust your sitting posture according to the 7 meditative postures of Vairocana. Think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mother in this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not even want a small suffering, due to mistakenly engaging with objects of adoptions and objects of abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our mind, sincerely cultivate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings were to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness that are virtues. May they have excellent happiness and its causes. I will cause them to have excellent happiness and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we cultivate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of suffering that are non-virtues. May they be free from all suffering and its causes. I will free them from all suffering and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and of lower realms? I should take the responsibility. Even though I should take the responsibility, I do not have the ability to place them in the state of perfect, complete enlightenment now. Who has such ability? Those perfect, complete Buddhas have the abilities. Therefore, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. The self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently one, nor as inherently different. Thus is empty of inherent existence. Suitable motivation. For the sake of all other sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this, I will listen to the holy teaching and practice properly in order to benefit sentient beings. To continue from where we left off, next two lines of verse 135 and first two lines of 136. If the result abides in the cause, to eat food would be to eat excrement. You should buy cotton seeds with the price of cotton cloth and wear them. So we are in the context of
we are in the context that relates to the assertions that result exists at the time of the cause. So he says, if the result abides in the manner of a non-different nature in the cause, it follows that to eat food will be to eat excrement. So this is the response or reply by Prasangika Madhyamika to the other side, that if result were to abide at the time of the cause in the manner of a non-different nature, then it follows that to eat food will be to eat excrement, because the nature of the food and the nature of the excrement are a partless unit. So if results abide in the manner of a non-different nature in the cause, so it would imply that the result and the cause they are partlessly one. So they are partless one, or they are a partless unit. So then Prasangika then say to the other side or the previous side, saying that if in that case, then eating food would be the same as eating excrement, because the nature of the food and the nature of the excrement are a partless unit, because they are partless one, or they are partlessly one. So in our meditation, we also say that if two things are intrinsically or inherently one, then the one of the faults is they will become utterly non-different. So they will become utterly a non-different one. So in that case, then they will become a partless unit. Then in asserting that that very principle is the nature of all phenomena, modes of abidance, the ultimate and the partless permanent, you asserted that the nature of the food and the nature of the excrement are one. So this is according to their assertions, and this is the faults that will follow. So furthermore, you should buy cotton seeds with the price of cotton cloth and wear them. It follows that wearing that is acceptable, because the nature of cotton garments and the nature of cotton seeds are a partless unit. So similarly, instead of buying a cotton cloth, and then you should buy cotton seeds and wear them. So why? Because cotton seeds, which is the cause, and the cotton cloth, which is made of cotton seeds, then which is a result, then they are partless. They are a partless unit, or they are partless one. So since they are partless one, then cotton seeds, the nature of the cotton seeds and the nature of the cotton cloth are exactly the same. So then you should buy the cotton seeds and wear them. So it follows that wearing cotton seeds is acceptable, because the nature of cotton garments or the cotton clothes or cotton cloth and the nature of the cotton seeds are a partless unit. So the purpose of wearing our t-shirt, cotton cloth, is to protect us from cold and from wind as well. So wearing cotton seeds, since they assert that the nature of the cotton seeds and the nature of the cotton cloth are the same or partless one, then it follows that wearing cotton seeds is acceptable. So in other words, is wearing cotton seeds would protect them from cold and wind. Next two lines of verse 136 and verse 137 say, if you say due to confusion the worldly do not see it, those who know reality would perceive it. Why do those knowing reality who exist among the worldly also not see it? The worldly is not a valid cognizer. Also, sin manifestation would not be true. Sorry.
다 뒤마세 레바지 사벨라 맞아 레바지 사벨라 레유 첨보 레유 요바냐 아 요바 통고 말해 니시 레바지 사벨라 맞아 레바지 사벨라야 레유 첨보 예수야 레유데 요말 이 통요 말 요바 통요 말
레유 첨보
레유 레드다 레 요로아 레유지 사벨라 너 레바지 사벨라 레바지 사벨라 레유 첨보 요바데 통요 말했어 레유 요바 제요라 케즈 케즈 저라 이 동요 말이지
제고 요바 통바
이게 요바 동요 말이지 이 요바 동요 말이지 그 주제니시
주제니바데 가리
주제니다 담보데 지디 몸바스 지디는 제비 요바 동요 말이지 주제지 담보들이 그 주제니바데 제비지 사벨라 제유 게 요바 동요 말이지 게 요바 만통 소다 예 제유지 사벨 그 말이로
제유 랑나지
제유 사벨라 제 계속해서
제고
다 걸어가는 데가 제도
제유라는 제고로 제고
사베로 아까다 레버지 사베들라 다 계속해서 해도 여러로 단지 뭐 받죠 사베들라 제유 친구 여가 동요 말해서 제게요 스트라이크 제도 여가 동요 말해서 계속해서 레저로 사베들라 계속해서 제도 여가 동요 말해서 이 동요 말 이 만통아 손자 레베지 사베의 고마레스 딱고 지제 레게지 사베의 먹여야 지니시 레게지 사베의 고마레스는 뭐라 내가 지지 담보를 가서 지디바나 몸비오게 다 지디는 레베요 바 고마레스 다 레베지 사베 지디나 다 레베 그야 바 고마레스 내가 지더래 내가 또 콜바 제가 있나 봐 레게지 사베 지디나 다 이 제보 제게요 바 고마레스 지디는 레베요 바 고마레스 지지대 단 지디 레베지 사베이 디나로 사베나 야 계속해서 레디요 바 통과 말았어. 계속해서 레디. 계지 사베다. 레베지 사베들라 계속해서 맞아 그 장하죠라. 그 장하 레디요 바 통과 말았어.
제고 소야기 제 요바 데미 통과로 인데 제베기 사베 나로라.
뭐 사베나 뭐 되어 바 통과 말았어. 이 만통 왔습니다. 그래서 레게지 사베다.
Opinion. Although those two are one nature, due to confusion, the worldly do not see that the result exists at the time of the cause. Thereby, they do not wear cotton seeds. So, this is the opinions of Samkhyas. Then they say that they do assert that the two are one nature, the cause and the result are one nature. Then, however, due to confusion, the worldly do not see that the result exists at the time of the cause. Then this is the first reason they assert to explain that why the cotton seeds and also cotton cloth are one nature. So, and however they are not seen is because due to confusion, the worldly do not see that the result exists at the time of the cause. And the second reason they state is the cotton that is used to make cotton cloth exists in the seeds. It exists in the cotton seeds, but is not seen by the worldly being. So these are the two reasons Samkhya states to support his assertion that the cause and the result are one nature. So the first one is the worldly beings, due to confusion, do not see that the result exists at the time of the cause. And the second is the existence of the cotton that is used to make cotton cloth exists because the existence of the cotton that is used to make cloth in the cotton seeds is not seen. The existence of the cotton that is used to make cotton cloth in the cotton seeds is not seen. So these two reasons are stated by Samkhya to support their point. So therefore, they do not wear cotton seeds.
gender chichi that no is gender chichi that the no is chichi the hip chichi hip the church says on the Zawa San was just says on the Zawa was it below chichi timber transfer seja loss of Judina never you be any hip tanji chimba deba denaji tanji chimba denaji 저는 대답이 된다. 와, 저 대답이 된다나지. 대단 되고비. 저 세상에
대답이 가래 된다.
된다 과학이 된다. 그 된다. 그 된다. 그 된다지. 내 간다지. 거기 된다나지 와. 된다 취지자. 그 지금 된다 차대로 와. 세자라서 좀 된다 차대로 와. 이제 봐. 그 취지자 대단 되고 그래. 된데서나 저 세상에 뭐 장사
Response: since you, Samkhyas, assert that your teachers, the sage Lingye or the sage Sekya and so forth, are all knowing, so those Samkhyas followers, they assert that their teachers, the sage Lingye and also sage Sekya and so forth, are all knowing, then due to knowing the reality of results existing at the time of the causes, they would perceive it. So they refers to those followers of the teachers, the sage Lingye and so forth. So those followers would also perceive that those results exist at the time of the cause. So since you also know reality, when you eat food, then you will be eating excrement and so forth.
앉아대 발로다. 다 처지 루지 이제 봐라. 얘니 해봐요 그랬어. 나도 가도 처지 루지 이제 봐라. 얘니 해봐요. 그 주의는 레벨이 갈지네 많고 통고에서 뭐라 따라봤어. 통고에서 가서는 그 주의는 레벨이 뭐다. 장지 셔봐도 신으로 시그서 힘이 셨어. 어디지? 어디지 얼마다 되는 이 앉아 가로 단냥 넣어줘. 깜빡이면서 그래. 다 가다 취지 땜바 나지. 다 앉아고 나 취지 때문에 나지세 감바 엄마라 되니 해반디 취지 때문에 장스는도 취지 때문에 나지로 오라 취지 때문에 나자 레지 사벨라 레기 여바데 나게 되니 희그레스 와 희그레 희나야 다 간다 취지 때문에 다 당수 인지라서 나지자 레지 사벨라 레기 여비 나게 되니 희그레스 희나야 사벨 고리바스 희나야 사벨 공고레데 데 감바 고리발라 사벨데 먹어봤어 사벨 먹어 레기 코나 내지 전반의 통은 레기 전반의 통도 봐. 레기 전반 내지 전반 통도 근데 이 통원이 주디는 레벨만 가냐 사는 무슨 세고 참 무슨 다 주디 땜바되게 가는 바로 거라 주디 땜바는 진짜 레지 사벨라 레기 여기 나게 된 신고를 했어.
레기 사벨라 아니 레기 수학이 제요 바로.
와 주디 땜바 레지 사벨라 레기 여바 레기 개 여바 나게 된 신고를 했어. 기나야 근데 희나 니네시나 사베 그런 리그로 봐서 와 사베 그런 리그리나 사베 고리발도 사베도 먹어 먹어야 다 자기 코나 니데지 자기 니데지는 자기가 좋은 와서 자기 제다들 따바이나 다들 제제 뜻을 따바이나 주디는 제베면 받아 세는 거 무슨 주디는 제베 정해서 땜바티가 다냐 하고 세고 차는 무슨 거 봐. 앉아. 내들이죠.
According to your system, why do those knowing reality who also exist among the worldly also not see that the result exists at the time of the cause? So it follows that they see it because they know that the result exists at the time of the cause, preceded by the Samkhyas. So those who exist among the worldly, also those worldly beings, then according to your system, then they would see that a result exists at the time of the cause because their teachers taught so. Is preceded by the Samkhyas, so that they would know it as well. So, and further, your teachers whom you assert to know reality in the lines above are also seen persistently to wear cotton garments instead of cotton seeds. Hence, it is obvious that the result does not exist at the time of the cause. So similarly, furthermore, your teachers whom you assert to know reality or to be all-knowing, then also seen persistently to wear cotton garments instead of cotton seeds. So, in fact, they are those teachers are the one who perceive that a result exists at the time of the cause, right? So they should know that a result exists at the time of the cause, and instead of wearing cotton suits, they persistently wear cotton garments. Hence, it is obvious that result does not exist at the time of the cause.
이제 버틸러 버려. 다 콜파도네다 거기 쓰는데 다 살려 버려. 다 콜파오카 다 가서 통도 그때 사회 그거 뭐지서 다 가다 그지 사회 그거 뭐도 막이 왔으다. 다 지디는 저번 거 살고 그것이 팔어디. 다 가딘 지디비 이 통계다. 지금 통계는 지디 봐 통화돼. 지디 봐 저한테 통화했어. 지디 봐 저거 지금 통화는 지디비 제만 말했어. 또 말해서 됐어. 봐. 지디비 통화 잘했어. 지대비 통화 세마 말해서 지대비 통화 테마만 세마 말해 또 보시나 하세요. 그래서 들어와 지대비 통화들이 통화는 지대비 통화 잘해 맞아 네 통화된 거에는 좀 말해 세마 말해 근데 러버 이나서 다 거기 레드 레벨로 와 근데 러버 다 양적 뭐 발로 와
또 말이요.
또 말해서 그런다 가다 뜻이 그러나 사도 그래 또 말해서 간다 와 지대비 속에 또 말해서 지대만 통화 세마데 가다 세마 말해서 문에 또 말해서 또 말들이 또 말라봐이나 다 그건 이제 벌어배다 제말에 이제 막 통면 좀 가서 대마 또 말해서 다 가다 되시고 이제 제만 통화해서 대마 또 말해서 그 신기로도 휴대레스 딜러가 간다 근데 러바는 이제 통화 대마 왜 봐이나 다 대마 아자 또 말라봐이나 저 그거 다 바고 막 앉아 봐라네 된 이제 배로 다 원은 이제 배로 그거 원은 이제 배 이거 답을 오라다 이거 답을 싸 난주도 저기 통화 와 이건 통으로 싸워 이게 벌써 이거 답을 싸워 드린 난주 뭐도 주 저기 통으로 했어 이게 저기 통화돼 demba 말해 다 콜파 여기 통화돼 demba 말해 이게 demba 많이 고래 전화다는 많이 고래 가서 이게 제만 이게 통화돼 제만 말해서 왔어 이게 통화 제만 말해서 왔어 다 demba 많이 나오고 있어 또 다들 demba 왜는지 hil로 봐 봐 이게 벌써 단 이거 답을 싸워 뭐 통으로 와 어디 통화다 demba 말해 다 demba 말다 봐 문제 받고 봐 쉬고 하구나 그런 문제가 다 필요와 demba 말해 봐 뭐 이제까지는 이대비 통화를 제만 말려서 같이 이렇게 어떻게 가고 있다.
Then opinion. The seeing of the worldly is not a valid cognizer, therefore it is a misconception. Another translation for this short line is therefore it is not realized. So this is opinions of the Samkhyas. They say that the seeing of the worldly is not a valid cognizer. So what it means is Samkhya saying that the seeing of the worldly beings is not what they see is not true. So this is what it means by the seeing of the worldly cognizer is not a valid cognizer, therefore it is not realized. The meaning of the whole sentence is what is seen by the worldly being is not true. Then in response to their opinion, then it follows that also manifestations, transformations, nature that are manifestly seen by the worldly would not be true. So it follows that also manifestations, for example, manifestations of sprout, then is seen by the worldly beings will not be true as well, because according to you, the seeing of the worldly beings is not a valid cognizer. So it is true, right? It is seen by the worldly beings. And then, however, since you, Samkhyas, saying that the seeing of the worldly beings is not true or is not a valid cognizer, then you have to accept that you have to assert that what they see is not true, including the manifestations of a sprout that is seen by the worldly being. Next outline is Madhyamika do not have the similar results. Madhyamika do not have the similar result. Sorry, do not have the similar faults. Sorry, Madhyamika do not have the similar faults. And under this outline is verse 138. Says, if valid cognizers are not valid cognizers, would that comprehended by them not be false? In view of that, meditation on emptiness would be incorrect because of that.
다양한자들 다야 당시 벌써 음악을 팔로고 저야 와 가티 치 음악 받다는 거다 간다 가티 치 음악 받다나야 세와 치 음악 받다는 제마 대 담바 제마대 대 담바 제마 미스는 아스타데 음악 대 담바 제마 밀고 와 담바 제마 대 담바 제마 미바이나 다 준비기 제마대다 보세요 있을 다스도 준비기 제마대기 야자도 야와나 야와 야와다 마두바 다 준비 제마게 다 야자 야와나 시다 두고 말했어 신지로 짐바 이제 살아서 간다 와 제마대 그러게 다치 오마바게 제마대 대 담바를 미세는 거도 와서 대 담바 제마 미세는 거도 당가서 오마바라 대 담바구나 된 디바도 거와 디바도 거와 제마 대 담바를 말해로 뭐가 대 담바서데 예 말했어 대이나 디바도 거와 왔다 준비 제마다 저러나 오마바라 쓰라네 준비 제마 되게 여야자 야와서 또 와서 저들 다 신주로 짐바에 모여내서 또 말했다 신주로 이런 거 해서 가르치는 주는 거 또 말해서 가르치는 또 말해서 이제 세마코 짐바에 다 거기다 이 신주로 가는 말로가 또 말했어 신주 말로가 또 말해 신주로 짐바 이제는 그래서 신주로 짐바처럼 그래서 가르치는 차고서는 이제 세마코로 짐바에 하고 이 동기 세마코로 짐바에 와서 대당 받침만 하러 왔어 대당 받침만 짐바로 왔어 다 진진 되기도는 나도 뭐 진진 되기도 다 만냥 들어가자고 하면 아무도 지라잖아 하면 이디시
opinion, then again they argue. So if according to you, Prasangika, so valid cognizers are not ultimately valid, then would the object of comprehension comprehended by those false valid cognizers not be false? Errors that are not established in the way they are comprehended, it follows that they would be false because the comprehenders are false valid cognizers. So this is their argument. So for Prasangika, Madhyamika, so as they do not assert that valid cognizers exist ultimately. So because for Prasangika, if something were to exist ultimately, then that things must also exist truly. So therefore, for Prasangika, Madhyamika, do not assert valid cognizers as ultimately valid. So then they argue that then the objects of comprehension comprehended by those false valid cognizers will be false, will be erroneous. So it follows that they are false because the comprehenders are false valid cognizers. So this is the reason they state to support their own argument. So for them, objects of comprehension comprehended by those will not be comprehended by those false valid cognizers, or will not be realized by those false valid cognizers, because the comprehender, which is the valid cognizers, are false.
lola gaja de gaja de lola manchawa de manchawa de anda dembar me bange to mare de gaja namba chawala ra le de ese anda topi dembing bo ka bise de lora wa dembar me bange bala demba me bange bala ta dembar to ka go wa dembar to ka go dembar to ka go sinda ta dembar me ba dembar to ka la dembar to ba kan ti to ndu se de dembar to se lola sha ese de chawala ra le de ese wa gaji 다 가지 남바스나 뎀바 투바라 가자 데와 가자 뎀바 투바 노라 샤치 달리미 데스 뎀바 메바 토발라 가자 뎀바 투바 노라 차와 달리 데스
가지 넘버 데 덴주기 죽수 기자데로
가지 넘버 데 가자 뎀바 노라 차드라 뎀바 투바 노라 차드 뎀바 노라 차와 데라 달리 데스 토비 뎀비 노 까발라 하세와 토비 뎀바 메바 토발라 알로 간다 뎀바 메바 토발라 뎀바 메바 토다기 노 뎀바 메바 토발라 데 가자 뎀바 투바 number chawala rali de yes gaja no gaja demba to ma no la chawala rali de no la ma chawa de demba me to chini to tu ma la that one ma ne shina that one dishin one ma le ma china that ma jin disa ma me to one ma ta jin disa ro to didi la jin disa to bi demba me ko ka be ka ba nge ba de gaji number chawala rali ne am pe chi bola disa chi bola de one ma dishin la disa
디 차상디 말라
되게 말로 당다 들이와
데바 메바 메발라
또비 뎀바 또비 뎀비 녀보데 까바 까비 가방 녀바데 가지 넘바 셔와 알레게 예 스타데 라 녀와 타 타나 지지 원마 있는 게 있어 이치고는 있어
딩 가자디안 디바 나로라 칸요바 딩에 디지볼라 베네디안
지시 원마
네 기시디지라 기샤라 인가 숨기 봐 that's So because the comprehenders are false value cognizers, this is the reason stated by Samkhyas to support their points that it follows that they would be false. So then meditation on emptiness asserted by you in view of that reason. So in view of that reason referring to the comprehenders are false value cognizers. So because of that reason, then meditation on emptiness asserted by you would be erroneous, incorrect, because the value cognizers that comprehended them are false. So according to, so Samkhyas, they are arguing with Prasangika Madhyamika that the mind of the meditator will not be correct, will not be non-erroneous, because the comprehending mind of the meditator is false. So this is their argument. So the mind of the meditators will not be erroneous because the comprehending mind of the meditator is false. So and then Prasangika Madhyamika say that your fault, your fault is not going to apply to me. So because in fact both of them are false. So response say that the objects of knowing is very correct for us middle way proponents that the value cognizer comprehending emptiness is false, and also that the emptiness preceded by that is false because is false because the ascertainment of the refutation in which the thing that is true existent is refuted by conception is contingent upon the dawning of the objects of refutation. So Prasangika they Madhyamika they reply to Samkhya by saying that your fault is not going to apply to me because to me then both of these are false. So verse 139 says, without contacting the entity that is imputed, the absence with respect to the entity which is that would not be apprehended. Therefore, what would be the entity that is false? The absence of the entity that is that would clearly be false.
답이 내가 말해 대행님 지마 있어. 와. 대치게. 다 대시 되는 거 아니 대행님의 싸워 제세.
心意的堂给的，
당고 칭이들.
对，咱的熊囊落来的堂给的，
我们나눠 요도 메도 짓지. 엄마 가샤 민지 비슈 요도 메도 짓지. 아무 일이야. 이제
So the first two lines of verse 139 says, without contacting the entity that is imputed, the absence with respect to the entity, which is that, would not be apprehended. So these first two lines, especially these first two lines, is regarded very important. Are regarded very important in Prasangika Madhyamika texts in the context of identifying the objects of refutation. So especially these two lines are very important, especially in the context of identifying the objects of refutation.
Oh, that Germany, that digital city, another country. 따비는 말은 대행이면 지만 스타트때 가자면 지금 쇼요도 메도래 다 된다데 에와 맞어 따비 너뭐 뎀버 두바 따비 너뭐 뎀버 두바데 와 뎀버 두바데 맞어 뎀버 메바데 네발라 따비 너뭐 뎀버 두바데 오빌라 마리 바스나 뎀디 넘버 마샤로 와 넘버 참고 티케지 쇼라 엔디 따비 너뭐 뎀버 두바데 뎀루지 넘버데 마샤와스 랑고 노이도 마샤와지라 다 대동 이 대동 너뭐 뎀마 메바데 싸워네 또 두고만지 또 말했어요. 다
의미에 대한 대동을
의미를 내면와 근데 간다 따빙에 뭐 내룰라서보다 따빙에 뭐 내룰라 또비 말해봐서 내루지 넘버 마셔와라고 내루지 넘버 마셔 얘네 내루지 넘버데 마셔봐 이나 가셔 대버 두배 넘버데 놀라 마셔와다 마셔 놀라 마셔나 예 대버 두바 이 대버 두바 매봐 다 대도와 대버 두바 매봐 대도 대 이거 덴바 매바데 또원이 또 도마스 덴바 매바데와 데메데 또비 이지마 이세 데메데 또 도마토바 또 마레스 또 마레스 와 덴바 매바 다 시티라 저디 가서 풍부 덴바 매바 또발라 풍부 덴바 매바 또발라 풍부 덴바 두비 두스데 로라 마차나 풍부 덴바 두바 두스데 로라 마차바 로라 지 마차나 땅아서 풍부 덴바 여 마레스나 땐 차라코로 여 마레스 niyan kuru yamarisi. Pumbo demba yamarisi, pumbo demba tusidi mashina, pumbo demba yamarisina, lashiya yamara. Tibarwa, rwa. Dat jel pe tandu legel rwa. Legel. Pumbo demba tubade, pumbo demba meba ngebala, pumbo demba kandi tugude tusidi shekuresi. Ye lola chata chikuresi. Ye demba tusidi lola majina, pumbo demba yamasina, ye chakuru yamara. Demba kuron yosi hamaguna, pumbo demba yamasina, ye chazi chakura. 지금 차로라 내네 좋아 어디 나시 들어보 아무 데지라나 어디냐고 말대 나도 치든도와 예시 가자 짐이 다시 볼로라 다 가자 짐이 너뭐 강이 받대 마시비 가자데 까바데 내님에 싸워 짐바레스 짐바 동반이데 의미데 짐바레스 다시 거는 가서 라노 텔스라서와 다 싸워디 치디 다다 두었다 치디 예시 짐빙이 뭐 강이 받대 몸에 싸워대 짐바레스 이거 매봐 대벌 매봐대 짐바레스
니가 안 좀 봐.
어디 짐바레스 어떤 짐바레이나 나도 좀 뜻이라야 잡어요.
당일 당일
나도 뜻이라도
can see the commentary. Okay, so that follows because without contacting through conception the thing that is imputed through existence, that is, without the dawning of true existence, the lack of true existence in things which are empty of true existence is not apprehended through conception. So the meaning of this line of this paragraph is, so in so in contacting the entity that is imputed, so without contacting the entity that is imputed, so the entity refers to the true existence. So without contacting the entity, which is true existence, then in other way of saying this, or in other words, it means, in other words, without the aspects of true existence appearing or dawning in one's mind. So the meaning of this, without contacting the thing that is imputed true existence, the meaning is without the dawning of true existence. So this is the meaning of without contacting the thing that is imputed true existence. So the thing that is imputed refers to true existence. So without this imputed thing, which is true existence, appears in one's mind or dawns in one's mind, then one will not be, then the lack of true existence then is not apprehended through conception, means that one will not be able to realize, one will not be able to realize the non-true existence. So one will not be able to realize the non-true existence. In other words, one will not be able to realize the entitylessness. Then yeah, so the meaning, the whole thing is, in order to ascertain that the aggregates do not exist truly, then the modes of establishment of aggregates as truly existent must appear in one's mind. So in order to ascertain the non-true existence of the aggregates, then the modes of establishments of aggregates as truly existent must appear in one's mind. So if that modes of establishments of aggregates as truly existent does not appear in one's mind, one will not be able to realize that aggregates do not exist truly. So it makes sense, right? So in order to ascertain the non-true existence of aggregates, then one must the modes of establishments of aggregates as truly existent must appear in one's mind as the objects of the thought. So if that does not appear in one's mind, then one will not be able to realize the non-true existence of the aggregates. So basically, simply put, is if one doesn't know the modes of existence of the aggregates, how it is established, then one will not be able to realize the non-true existence. So if one doesn't know the modes, how the aggregates appears truly, then one will not be able to realize the non-true existence of it. Then therefore, what is the thing that is the false object of refutation? Since it is not possible, the lack of the thing which is that object of refutation, having been refuted, is clearly false. So this link to this line, yeah, so that the emptiness is false because the ascertainment of which, yeah. So, in the response, so because the ascertainment of the here, so valid cognizer comprehending emptiness is false, and also that the emptiness perceived by that is false because the ascertainment of the refutation in which the thing that is true existent is refuted by contingent. By conception is contingent upon the dawning of the objects of refutation. So these lines linked to here is because the meaning is exactly the same. In order to ascertain the non-true existence, then we must refute true existence, right? So in order to ascertain non-true existence, then we must refute true existence. So in order to refute true existence, then the modes of true establishment, which is the aspects of the objects of negation or of refutation, must appear in one's mind. So the modes of establishment, modes of true establishment, which is the aspect of the objects of refutation, must appear in one's mind. That aspect must appear in one's mind. Otherwise, one will not be able to ascertain it, and one will not be able to realize it. So the analogy above is like, without the aspects of the son of a barren woman, a woman dawning to conception, the aspect of the death of the son of a barren woman does not dawn. So using this analogy to illustrate the meaning. So without the aspects of a son of a if the aspect of the son of the barren woman does not dawn in one's mind, then the aspect of the death of the son of a barren woman does not dawn as well. So in other words, is not realized. So if the emptiness of true existence, which is the object of refutation, having been refuted, is truly existent, so this is Madhyamika's response to their assertion regarding everything is truly existent. So if the emptiness of true existence, which is the object of refutation, having been refuted, is truly existent, then to an inferential knower consciousness, the appearances that are empty of true existence must be truly existent. So in that case, a collection in which one of them has been refuted is not possible due to that object of refutation appearing truly to it. Even the appearance of true existence must be truly existent. So for in that case, if true existence must exist, then it is non-existent. So this last line is like a conclusion that things are not truly existent as asserted by those Samkhya's and etc.
tentampa tugu mudu de wang de ne ta tomba ni ja zimba tentampa ma tomba ni ja zimba tentampa ma du wis to
tomba ni kyang
tomba ni ja zimba tentampa ma du ma yes zimba tentampa ma du ba yin ji de tani ji wang yo zang le de bi wang yes tani ji wang yo zang le wa tani ji wang yo zang le denba tu bi wang yo ma yes de bi wang yo ma yes ta de na de wa
tani wang yo zang
tani
le
wang yo zang ji ma do yo zang le ma do de bi wang yo ma de ba tu wang yo ma yes yo ma yes de zimba yes wa
dembe wangi
dembi wangi yo ma res lo wa tani ji wangi yo zang le da dembi wangi es tenda de wa da tanchi zimba re es hiu de gaji gi tenda la jan es wa gaji gi tenda la jan de ta ma ju ko ko es wa gaji gi tenda la jan de tenda ma du ba ni ji la ko ko es zimba re wa
zumba se tian tenda ba du ya de
o tenda ba du ma res gaji la ba jan che tanchi zimba re wa
가자 ni de tenda ba du ba ro
o te tamba tu wa o te le da tini ji tu ma yes ta tini ji tu ma te tamba tu ma ti ko ko yes ye ma du ka sina tongba ni ja zimba te tamba ma du ba tani ji wang yo zal ma den du wang yo ma yes ta da do shi
공다 기실라 가자 세 대한 tenda ba du ba ro de zumba yin ba yang de tenda ba du ba de du bi yo ma re
zimba te tamba tu ma da te ko yes wa te tamba tu ma yes te tamba tu ma
ini de tongma ni kyang zumba tenda ba ma du
o zimba te tamba
tongma ni kyang
tongba ni ja ro da tongba ni ja 간다 lembar me ba da ten tamba me ba da chanchi tongba ni ganga de 간다 zimba ten tongba de zimba ten tamba ma du tongba ni ja zimba ten tamba ma du yes tongba ni ja zimba ten tamba ma du zimba ni chanchi zimba ni lo sa ro
tongma ni rang ni yang de zumba ro
zimba ni lo sa ro zimba che chanchi zimba ni lo sa ro zimba ni se tanda da kar na zimba ni tanda de gaji tanda la pacha gaji tanda la jani ita ma du ko ko yes gaji tanda la jani ita ma du ko ko yes gaji era na shi tanda ma du ma yes tadi ko ko yes zimba ni so wa gaji tanda ma du ba la ko ko yes gaji la jani
가자 ina de tenda ba du ba ya na 가자 tenda ma ma du ba
tanda ma du gaji tanda ba sa wa
tam tenda ma du ba ro 가자 de ro ini de 가자 de tenda ba du ba de yang zumba yin ba kim zumba yin be kim kaza zumba yin zumba re ini
che tang ji zimba re la ko ro che tang ji zimba re se lo di che tang ji zimba re se lo di gaji ba tanda la jani
zumba se de yang de 가자 de tenda de yang ja ro ini de yang 가자 de 강의 tenda ba du ba de ro ini dan tenda ba du ba de zumba re tenda ba du ba de
che tang ji zimba re se ko
che tang ji
zimba re se ko che tang ji zimba re se ko ta na pe chen lo jan do che tang ji ni da ni ko kan ga zimba re se ba tanda jasa to ju re se zimba re se lo di gaji ki pa tanda la jane gaji ki tanda la jane te ta ma du ba ko ko re se gaji ki tanda jane ta ma du ba ta gaji ki tanda jane ta ma du ba ko de ro ta ga de wang de shi ta ka da gaji pa ja de wang de shi ni ta tongba ni ja zimba tanda ma du ba re se tongba ni ja zimba tanda ma du ba
동반 이대 양 줌바 레스 애니 줌바 대 양tem바 마주바
다 tanda ma du ba de ka che ne 이 최단지 탄이지 원기 여장 예스 탄이지 원기 여장 지마도 데뷔 원기 여 말이야 예스 데모트 원기 여 말이야 예스
데뷔 원기 자 대양
데모트 원기 여 말이야 예스
데모트 원기
여 말이야 예스 최단지 탄이 원기 여자래 데뷔 원기 예스
네 데모트 원기 여 말이야 그래서 비차 나와 있는
네 시작을 먼저 공사적으로 시작해 그래.
우마 봐서 대 추담지 대 준바리 앤 데마 주바 메 탄되나바 메바와 되나바 메바와 나서 so so then Kishla explained and also His Holiness Dalai also explained this point as well. So Madhyamika they assert that all phenomena are false, do not exist truly, do not exist ultimately. So when Madhyamika says that all phenomena are false, then this word false, then we have to link it to the objects of refutation. So the objects of refutation is ultimate existence. So all phenomena are false, and then this false links to the objects of refutation, which is ultimate existence or ultimate establishment. So they are false means that they do not exist in that way. So it means that all phenomena do not exist ultimately. So that is what it means by all phenomena are false. So all phenomena are false, even emptiness is false. So even emptiness is false means that it does not exist ultimately. So because all phenomena merely exist from the perspective of convention, however, they do not exist from the perspective of true establishment.
다 간다 된다 네가 도도 나오데 다 된주지 저 로라 마샤와 다 대돈 레버 이거 말해서 오니 예발라 가샤가 생지들라 케바지 구리 스타디 거들어도 다 된다 도도 디시오 와 다데 가샤 가도 맞아 다 여도 메도 제대 정서 가샤 년지고 숑다 나지 요다 데르다
So this conclusion or the summary of this paragraphs is, since without the generality of true existence dawning, one does not ascertain well the emptiness of true existence, one must be skillful in the apprehension of the measure of the objects of refutation. So therefore, here talks about the importance of identifying the objects of negation or objects of refutation. So this is also an important point in text that talks about identifying objects of refutation. So this regarding this point.
다디 오늘 비나 뭐 비실라서 대면념이 nom도는 이 넘버 또 봐요 개인이 준비해서 다디 쇼로가 지도 맞지 지셔야지
Verse 140 says, due to that, regarding the death of the sun in a dream, the conceptualization, thinking he does not exist, blocks the conceptualization that he exists. But that too is false.
다디 오늘 봐요 봐 제대로 쉬고 와 뭐보기 진짜 대지 고대 다 간다 덴바 치만 덴바 네버 니발라 다 가자 덴비들로 샤와라 부부데 진짜 대기 와 답변은 밀란데 베시와 미발라 다 가서 밀란데 베시와 미발라 베디 메나비 남도 지어라 베디 메나비 남도데 베디 여나비 또바디 게레스다 다디 또바디 게파카 네모로서 게레스 그 몰라지 빠니 님보데 짐바리 니가 짐바리스 짐바이가 대기는 다 니가 짐바이가 대나시 때 님보 짐비기 빠자 짐바 노도리 해서 맞아 짐바를 좀 이거 맞다 그 짐바를 다 덴바처럼 말해서 그 저기가 프랑스 대랑대로 와다 세마 짐바기 때 여자 짐바에서나 공부 삼만도 신제 몰아봐 자고 뭐도 신제로 차도고 그래서 다 프랑스 개나 망보 요라 됐어 어디 소파 딱봐 두술파 가고로 세마 짐비 여자 짐바 인자와 내가 말했습니다. 와 세마 짐바 여자 짐바 인자와 내가 말했어. 와 예 아니 한번 앉아서 님보기 제가 되그래서 니가 짐바이나 반자 대다 님보 대다 이게 반자 되니 니가 짐바이나야 그니 반이 님보 반자도 님보기 제대 너선 되그래서 된게와 요 말했어. 요 말했어. 와
님보 대방자대 방대 종교로
빵도 그래 짐바이나 거니 반자대 빵도 그래 해서 빵도 그래 해서 와 어떻게 제대로 빼내는 와
So therefore refers to relates to the paragraphs or sentences before.
한마디 단지 고랑 님들 개나면서 저 단지 기자들 개나면서 듣지도 단지 그러고 되냐고 막 가도 내가 뒤지마도 들어와 이거 말해서 사람이 뒤지하고 단지 기자 단지 덴버트가 개나 봐 간다 제마 짐바 도시고 말했어 그런 제마 짐바 좀 쉬어서 대충 말했어 도도 돼
So therefore, this word therefore relates to the sentence before this sentence. So since without the generality of true existence dawning, so without the dawning of the generality of true existence, then one doesn't ascertain well the emptiness of true existence. So therefore, for example, regarding the observation of the death of the sun in a dream, the conceptualization thinking the sun does not exist blocks the conceptualization thinking the sun exists. But the two, the objects of abandonment, the conceptualization thinking the sun exists, and the antidote, the conceptualization thinking the sun does not exist, are also false. So likewise, there is no contradiction that a false object of abandonment is demolished by a false antidote, and a false object of comprehension is comprehended by a false valid cognizer. So even though they are false, the conceptualization thinking the sun does not exist, and then it blocks or it opposes the conceptualization thinking that the sun exists. So, but the two, the objects of abandonment and the antidote, are also false. So objects of abandonment and also the antidotes, they are false. So even though they are false, but there is no contradiction that a false object of abandonment is demolished by a false antidote. In other words, a false antidote is able to demolish a false object of abandonment. So same goes to a false object of comprehension is comprehended by a false valid cognizer. Because in previous argument, Samkhyas assert that a false object of comprehension is comprehended by a false valid cognizer. So they are false and they are not true, and etc. Right? So for Madhyamika, they say that a false object of comprehension can be comprehended by a false valid cognizer. So there is no contradiction there. So however, since the Samkhyas assert that all objects of knowing to be truly existent, they do not know how to perceive a false valid cognizer. Hence, they are not similar. So hence they are not similar means that Madhyamika and Samkhyas do not have the same fault.
Oh, Chema Jibita Madu and Jachina, Chema Zimbi, Yaja Zimba Jawa, Umapalan, Gego Margawa, Yoma, Desra, Chema Zimba, Yaja Zimba, Jawate, Umapalan, Jawa, Duma, yes, no Duma, yes, Bagamaris. Shija Tanchi Zimba, Deme, Shija Tanchi Zimba, Deme Milanta, Jumata, yes,
Shija
Tanchi, Deme Milanta, Jumata, yes,
Deme,
Shija Tanchi, Zimba. Deme Milanta
Milam
Jumata Bundu eso Jumata Bundu
Milam setia tabu setia Milam la jare Milam tabu re
Milanta Jumata
Milam tabu di sikti Milam la jagi omaro
Jumata Jawara yet Samal Maja Jawara Hija Hia Tanji Zimbata Deme Milam Jumata yes Jumata yes
so
you know that Tanjin here Tanji Dendu the Devere Sema Zimba Jom Higmaris Sema Zimba Jom Hiba Sonza
Tanji Denduris
Shia Tanji Dendu the Deveres then Sema Zimba Jo Higmaris Sema Zimba Jom Hiba Sonza that's not the Jade Umabalam Jumaris Mutumi Sorosua that's not the Jim of Umabal Jane Jumaris oh that kind of dish.
So there is no. So for Madhyamika, there is no contradiction for a false object of comprehension being comprehended by a false valid cognizer. So there is no contradiction here. So because for Madhyamika, all objects of knowledge are false, do not exist, are non-truly existent, are like dream, are like illusion. So all objects of for Madhyamika, all objects of knowledge are false, non-truly existent, like dream, like illusion. And then, however, for Samkhyas, they assert that all objects of knowledge are truly existent, and therefore they do not know how to perceive a false valid cognizer. So whatever faults, so therefore those faults Samkhyas mentioned do not apply to Madhyamika.
Oh, that was okay. Nimbu Zimbabwe, Panja Zimbabwe, to rest that the Roa. Cook the Chetonsa, Coach Delta, Jiba Surua, some Zimba China and deal with Segura. Nimbu Zimbi, Panja Zimbabwe to and no limitation. 요 배샤 돌 주미기 람보치 와 주미기 람보치기 주미 람보 예히 팜바체도 그래스 주미 람보치 와 주미 람보치 주미 람보치 주미 람보 현다치 주미 람보 현다치 팜바체도 그래스 팜바체 그래스 와 이 팜바체 그래스 로데 다 니가 짐바 차대로 와 이제 니가 짐바 차대로 와 주미 람보치 에 짐바 주미 람보 예 팜바치 주미 람보 현다 니가 짐바로 와 짐바레데 이나다 나서 님부 짐비기 관자 짐바 용을 해서 배차 그때 노를 마성에 배와 노를 무슨 배치래 가지고 들리페나 뭐여를 지야와 노를 마성에 배와 왔다 간다 된다 도도 시오디 짐비 님부기 관자 짐바든 좀 투를 해서 대주요 말해서 아빠 전지 무슨 봐 또 들러를 와 그쪽에다 지 동반인 자식이 제만 짐바레 차도 짐바레 차도 동반이 공부하되 야자데 동반이 코로나 짐바잖아. 근데 동반이 공게 너한테 짐바 찾는데 신경 말아봐. 이따고 잡으면도 너희네서 해면도 되니 공부라 되면도 동반이 공부라 그거 진짜면도 무슨 다 바로서 뒤에 수방아 뒤다고 봐.
So for some chaos, they assert that they they are trying to argue with Madhyamika, saying that if the comprehender of emptiness is false, then the mind of the meditator will not be non-erroneous. So therefore, there is no reason or there is no purpose of doing that meditation. So for Samkhyas, if all objects of knowledge are false, then it is not okay for Samkhyas. So they do not assert that. So they do not agree. They do not agree with these assertions. So, however, for Madhyamika, they assert that all objects of knowledge are false. So therefore, there is no contradiction that a false object of abandonment is demolished by a false antidote. And passages in the sutra says that an illusory elephant is able to overcome another illusory elephant. An illusory elephant is able to overcome other illusory elephant. So both being false. So both being false, and even though they are false, however, a false elephant is able to overcome another false elephant. So therefore, this passage in the sutra can be used to support this point. There is no contradiction that a false object of abandonment is demolished by a false antidote. So next outline is summarizing the meaning of the refutation of the causeless. Summarizing the meaning of the refutation of the causeless. So regarding causeless production, then there are many reasons stated to refute such assertion. So under this outline is first two lines of verse 141. Say, due to that, by thorough analysis in this way, nothing exists without a cause. And in the commentary, then it says, So therefore, by analysis through reasoning the way explained above, so it has been explained previously. So what it means is because not only is production from a discordant cause such as Ishvara and the principle impossible, then no result whatsoever is produced and exists without a cause. So production from a discordant cause is refuted, and then similarly, and also causeless production is also refuted. Next outline is refuting the production from both self and others. And under this outline is next two lines of verse 141 and also first two lines of verse 142. Say, they also do not abide individually, nor in conditions that are an aggregation of all. Also, not coming from something else, they do not abide, they do not go. So then results such as sprouts also do not abide individually in water, manure, heat, and moisture and the like, nor abide inherently in conditions that are an aggregation of all of them, water and the like, in the manner of juniper fruits supported in a metal bowl. So because if they do, such should be observable. So in the manner of juniper fruits supported in a metal bowl, so metal bowl is the support and juniper fruits is the supported. So juniper fruits merely supported in a bowl, so one being the support, another one being the supported. So merely being supported in a metal bowl itself, then there will be no productions of the results. And because if they do, then as such should be observable, but they are not observed to be so, and they do not even exist at that time. So they do not even exist at the time means that result do not even exist at the time of the cause, because without the conditions changing in aspects, sprouts are not produced. So in order for a result to produce, then the cause and conditions must change in aspects. So without the cause and condition changing in aspect, then the productions of the results will not be observed. And if they only supported in the way like a juniper fruit supported in the metal bowl, so regarding the cause and the result, and if results supported in a metal, if results are supported if the relationship between the cause and conditions together with the results are like the juniper fruits supported in the metal bowl, since the conditions do not change in aspects, therefore the productions of results, which is sprout, will not be observed.
rangi
Kiên thiên năng đấy.
bi so
That's all.
chen de nang le yin le de ba ma yi rangi ju bi chi ji ju sin ne ba ya ma yi se wa rangi ju bi chi ju sin ne ba ma re sta ti yo ma no wa da ga ne se ndo da ji ba na rangi ji ga ne yin de ndo ya ma yi se ga ne se ndo ga se wa da ji ba na wo wa ji ne de ga na rangi yin de ndo ya ma re se wa ji ne rangi yin de ndo ya ma re
闲就多些这样让心，闲人家撒下闲，对那那有那
rangi yin de ndo
让心闲得
yin
多，
de ndo ka yo ma re
那
se
是
wa wa
让心闲得多。
现在多啊，我们路高是吧？ 基本上都让你经干的，现在多呀，给马的是，让你军事些要马的是，我说吧，这些，那对就是这些，那大来教的，要马的，现来教要嘛，大一你个来教要马的是，是吧？啊，简单的点马当教的，通过就是通过他看到这些，让你教没的，大一来没去，是吧？大来教没去，现来教没去，你个来就没，大一你个来教没去，就没来教没去，我的是。 하여튼 당연히 지나도 다다 지금 제가 다 엄마만 좀 그런 거 좀 되셔야 돼. 이거 하여튼 나중에 들어와. 맞아 나중 취지 담배 주가 돼. 취지 담배 주어서 강사가 담배 주어서 일반이 나 도도나 니 이리와
去给他们谈，去给他们，
취지 담배다 강사가
他们
강사가 담배 주고 일반은 타딘에 뭐 주고 중생 일반들 때문에 강사 담배 주고 여러
他短嘞，
타딘 신당이나 뒤와 我到这地军事的给你，这地马祖的军事的给你，那刚才打的不多的，但那的打了就现在就要去打的，恐怖的，恐怖的打的马祖的，恐怖的点把没的打的，现在你看的军人扛的多嘛，那军事的给我，是吧？这军事的嘛，马祖我们都蛮这些结果呢，第是嘛我当然是给全部全部的是吧？第是他们是吧？都在那的。 그래서 내 부모다 강사 출신이 너 강사 장이지 지와 요 말에서 장이지 지와 메데
부모 출신들,
부모를 와 다데 부모는 와서 취지 담에 줘야 또 우리가 또 들려 보러 달래 많이 좋아진 달래 많이 얘네 미래 많이 지금 이뭐 강사 그네 지와나 요만 있어 하여튼 가서 좋아지게 되지 다들 되는 분들 와 가도 분들 와 진짜 원래 거지 이 가도 분들 어다데 와서 취지 담에 주고 싶어서 강사가 담에 주고 싶어서 다 도도도 니 깨우라마 깨우데 간사가 담에데 간사랑 같이 주가 매데 센타디 못에 거기 해서 이것도 신다이나 비와
他短不的，
타디 못와 나 뭐로 이치다 타데다 뭐뭐지와
他短不的，
안에 두고만 뭐 안에 두고만 했어 안도 요 말했어 어다 취지 담에 공부시 아니 주가 매데 달에 지와 뭐 이래 지와 이래 지와 뭐 이래 지와 있어 이 주제 되게 와 자기니가 지와 뭐 이제 대시되고 나도 싸워치래 지리요 그것도 되고
also not coming from something else other than those conditions. They do not abide already. They do not abide already established in a manner of inherent existence. They do not go somewhere else having ceased. So they do not go somewhere else having ceased means that having disintegrated, their nature do not become other. So they do not go somewhere else having ceased means that their nature do not become something else having after disintegration. So thus there is not the slightest inherent existence. Therefore, there is no production from self, production from others, and production from both self and others. In short, the property of the subject in the following is proven. The subject, the aggregates, and the person are not inherently produced because they are not produced from self, not produced from others, not produced from both self and others, nor produced causelessly. So, so in order to establish the selflessness of person, there is one main reasoning to establish that the main reasoning to establish the selflessness of person is the sevenfold analysis. So the sevenfold analysis of a chariot. So in previous class we also mentioned this. We also list the sevenfold analysis. So in a debating way, then it will be like the subject person do not exist inherently because it is not established through any of the sevenfold analysis. So it's not established through any of this way. The sevenfold analysis are 7 ways, right? So then the debating way will be the person do not exist inherently because it's not established through any of these sevenfold analysis or 7 ways. And then so there is another main reasoning to establish the selflessness of persons, such as aggregates. Then the main reasoning is these 4 ways of productions. So in a debating way, it will be phenomena such as aggregates do not exist inherently because it is not produced from self, is not produced from others, is not produced from both self and others, nor is it produced causelessly. So these wordings like the subject, person does not exist inherently because it is not established from any of the 7 ways, and also phenomena such as aggregates, the subject phenomena such as aggregates do not exist inherently because it is not established from self, from others, from both self and others, nor is it produced causelessly. So these are the wordings that you can find in the fundamental wisdom. Next outline is the reasoning of dependent arising. Under this outline is the next 2 lines of verse 142, say, how does that which is considered to be true by confusion differ from an illusion? And the commentary says, how does this thing which is considered and imputed to be true by ignorance? So in other words, is how does this thing which is apprehended to be true by ignorance, the afflicted confusion, differ from those non-true example? The example, they are not true. For example, illusion, a dream, a reflection, and so forth. Or while it's empty of being inherently existent, it appears inherently existent. Verse 143 says, examine whatever is emanated by an illusionist and whatever is emanated by causes, where would they come from and also where would they go to? Whatever illusion horse, elephant, so whatever illusory horse and illusory elephant and so forth, they are emanated by an illusionist or magician, and whatever thing that is emanated by causes and conditions should be investigated. If they are inherently existent, if they're inherently existent, so and if they must come from another at the time of production, so at the time of production, and if they must inherently come from another, and when it ceases, then it must inherently go to somewhere else. Then where do they come from, and also where do they go to? Since there is no inherent existence, it is said the subject, the person, and the aggregates do not exist inherently because they are dependent arisings. So dependent arising is the king of the reasoning. So just as in the case of, so therefore, this is dependent arising is stated as the reason. So because they are dependent arisings, then just as in the case of reflections.
다 남의 부실이 리파레 뜻을 리파 마무 지어되나 다 땡디 리파 티페타 체도 봐봐지다 초도 주버리 리차는 그래서 그래서 나도 잡을 빼셔야돼 그래서 다 잡을 넘버지 잡으나는 잡을지는 딱 안다 렘보라서 같으니 마무 열어와 다 렘보서 샤와 간디 제베는 마무 코스 코나도 손으로는 다치 제베야 마무 열었어 이 다치 지나 예 너도 겠는가 최사다가 다치 지어야 돼 렘보 코나서 다치 못 해봐 이 잡을 끼쳐 잡을 다치 그래서 야구 다치. 나 대나실로. 나 대나 너도 원샷 치기 야구 차대와. 나 렘보 그런서 배 다치 지고니나 내가 쪼고도 다치 야구를 마셔 그런 다치 두고 말았어. 대나시 나 리빠노 쳐도 리빠 뭐뭐 열대니나 나 리빠 되나는 거. 또 뭔지 되 두야라 리빠 초도 줘봐도 나 땡기지 봐도 잘 모르겠어. 와, 땡기지 봐도.
Dependent arising is said to be the king of reasoning because even though there are many reasonings that establish selflessness and emptiness, however, dependent arising is superior and is special. So then, so why is it called the king of? Why dependent arising is said to be the king of reasoning is because and a king has many ministers, and then ministers they discuss matters and then they make decisions. So however, when it comes to important matters, then those ministers do not have the right to make a decision. Then they will go back to the king. So therefore, dependent with this analogy, then similar to this analogy, dependent arising is said to be the king of reasoning. Verse 144, whatever results seen due to proximity, but not if they are absent, are fabrications similar to reflections. How would they be truly existent? So whatever results such as compositional action, sprouts, and so forth, seem to be produced due to proximity to the causes, such as ignorance, seeds, and so forth, but are not produced if those causes are absent, are fabrications. Thereby, they are similar to reflections. So how can they be truly existent? They are not. So if there is no cause, then there will be no result, and then these are fabricated, so therefore they are similar to reflections. Then how can they be truly existent? In other words, they are they are not truly existent. So if there is anything that could be produced without relying on cause and conditions, then it will be like the sky lotus or sky flower. Next outline is having established reasoning, refute the inherently existent production. Having established reasoning, refute the inherently existent production. Under this outline is 145, says, with respect to entities that exist, what need is there for a cause? Yet, even if it does not exist, what need is there for a cause? Debut mena yang de kaza de rang xing ye me wai na de jiao hui ren.
Dan debut mena so de debut den mena lo. Den mena zao ni mena. Debut den mena jie men ju xing ba ina. Jie men ju xing ba ina. Da ju gu ba yo ju da jie la bu ba ge yo ma res. Ji ju da jie ga mu ga le na jie tu ma re. Da pe na de ma de sa be mei chi ba na bu jo lo. Sa be mei chi ba na da de debut den jie yo ma ro. Debut den jie yo ma ro.但你不对的叫没有说的，那对了把背上那个，但你不找你没完呢，你不是我对你没完呢，那就了不把看么就是，那就感觉要完了，这上面没几个那就记图嘛也是，你不有的记图嘛了，上面没几个，我上面没几个这个，你不找你记图嘛是吧？找你记图嘛的，你拿起来，这就了不把要嘛的是，不把要嘛的是了，是吧？但你不谈起具体的没把下大的，你不谈起在具体的没把讲下大的，也。Chata ibe, den goba mai, den chiang goba, dan debu de ngas juit na debu de goba, to de mares. To juit na debu yos tangji khona khile rwa. De to goba mare, to goba de den chiwa de goba res. Debu den chiwa me bare, reswa den goba, to den goba res. Da de juit na yoba ta shala goba res. Da rwa. Ngoya to de res. Den chiang goba de res rwa. Den chiang goba. Ma ta de
di sa. 先我就得查什么？
对嘛？人不要不叫，我把呀，长期的具体的要办的把它，培训长期的要办的把我把这，那的嘛晓得我长期的具体的就人不要办的我是吧？就不听了，人不要办的我的，培训长期的要办的把我把，但是多的还是对面我把这个是，是吧？对面的我把这个是，啊，人不要不叫，我说的长期的具体的要办的我的，培训长期的要办的把，这个长期的要办，我对你讲我这个。 这身边这某个班就是，那这身边人这古嘛的，他这古班就是这样嘛的。这日本人的是，这身边是这某个班就是，而且是日本人的，他日本老当吃里面就像我嘛自己给下来了我的，这样老当早年嘛就把来了是吧？这身边是这某个是话的。啊，让你都没军队就嘛到我的，让你都没说，让你都没军队就嘛到我的，谁能看来把他，写不那个写是吧？让你都没是吧？ 그런데 라이 동이 준비돼 주마다 그러와 주마다 보다 손이 캐내 봐 시발 이비스 당님이 주시다도 그래도 자이 하도 맞어
With respect to things that exist inherently, what need is there for a cause? 4. The inherently existent does not need production, yet even if the result does not exist, what need is there for a cause? 4. It cannot be produced. So if things exist, if with respect to a thing that exists inherently, then what is the cause? So because what need is there for a cause is because it doesn't need to, it is established without relying on cause and condition. So what need is there for a cause? If with respect to things that exist inherently, then and with respect, and yet even if the result does not exist, what need is there for a cause in relation to the second sentence. So yeah, so if the result does not exist, in other words, the meaning is if the result does not if result is utterly non-existent. So if the result is utterly non-existent, then what need is there for a cause? So for example, as for it cannot be produced, right? For example, because a burnt seed, then it will not be able to produce a result, right? So the result is utterly non-existent. So then for such a result that is utterly non-existent, what need is there for a cause? So since a burnt seed cannot produce a sprout anymore, then since all results do not exist at the time of their cause, which is asserted by Samkhyas, and are only produced, they are not refuted. Yeah. So since all results do not exist at the time of their cause and are only produced, they are not refuted. Rather, the productions of the utterly non-existent is refuted. So this indicates that the productions, the result do not exist at the time of the cause and are only produced. Yeah. So so this sentence indicates that results exist at the time of the cause is not the main. Is not mainly refuted here. So the results do not exist at the time of the cause is not mainly refuted here, but rather the productions of the utterly non-existence is mainly refuted here. So the productions of an existent result is refuted. Also, the assertions that it exists at the time of the cause and the assertions of the Samkhyas that most objects exist inherently are refuted. Saying because it has already been produced, it does not need production, transcends the path of reasoning. So saying that because it has already been produced, so therefore it doesn't need production. So transcends the path of reasoning means that it is not reasonable. In other words, is that they do not know they do not know the path of reasoning. So therefore, causes and results which are empty of inherent existence are asserted to be illusory and like reflections.
어디 원래인가 이것은 도시래.
납주한다.
내가 진도로. 당연히 주의식이 얘도 모르고 비바스테로와
제와께서
어디 가든 여기 아 제와 찾아 주인자 내 보면 버주더니 내가 등이 됐다 이 주시 현양 강시 있다 쇼로가 지도 말로 되셔도.
And verse 146 says, even by billions of causes, a non-entity is not transformed. How would that state be an entity? It would transform into an entity. Also, what other would be?
나도 대단하다 간다. 제와 찾아고 주인자로 오라다 간다와 제와 찾아고 제와 간다. 자타고 주인자 배 주고 이제 마음 뜻이고와 제와 자타고 주인자 다 간다. 뭐고 매바지와 뭐고 때니 매바지 뭐고 때니 매바지 땅 뭐고 주토야 말 해서 간다. 와 뭐고 매바지 뭐고 때니 매바지 땅 뭐고 주토야 말 제와 자타고 주인자로 와 제와 자타고 주인자 땅 뭐고 때니 매바지 뭐고 자원이 주토야 말 해서 여보, 내면 여보라 습관이 샤와 제도만 주투고 말해서 와, 내가 들어와 제가 자라고 주의다. 당연히 때문에 내가 들어와. 여보 때문에 내가 이메일로 보라다. 안다와. 근데 이메일이 당연히 주투고 말했어.
we may say the anti tin me but chiro.
Tin me ba tin me ba ni po tin me ba sin da ni me da cha wa ni me cha wa ni po tin me ba chi da ni po la ju tu ma res ni ju ya me ji ga na ni di rong wu ra na chi res rong wu ra da pe chi ba res rong wu ra de ni po ji tu ya ma ras ni po zo ji tu ya ma ras ni na chi res wa amu ti ji da.
Response: even by billions of causes, a non-thing is not transformed into a thing because nothing whatsoever can make a non-thing into a thing. So a non-thing refers to something that is utterly non-existent. For example, the horns of a rabbit. So a non-thing like the horns of a rabbit is not transformed into a thing, even by billions of causes, because nothing whatsoever can make a non-thing to become can make a non-thing into a thing.
Matawa jiwa ina sa, nika matane nipo jiwa ina lawa. Matana nipo jiwa ina jitu ya kema, nimi ji nika tegaro ni diyo na, nipo kandi je chago, nipo chago lama, nipo da nimi nika de gawa chade, nimi da nipo nika gawa chade, nimi tegaro yo shimigane, nimi tegaro yo shimigane, nika na nipo kandi jitu ya si. Di jiwa kema, kola nipo da nimi nika gawa desi, deni jitu kumare, deni nika gawa desi, gawa desi. Tang wei na, jelo yo mi. Na le. Tang wei na wa, tang wei na da ngepo da ngeme ni le ju ju ka da ni ma de ma le se wa, ni ma de. Ngepo da ngeme le, ngepo ju ju ni ta ro es. Ju ni ta ro. Ju ni ta is na, da she kang ge ya, tu su mo si ba ji yo ma le se. Deni ga ji ju ya la, ni ya mo ngepo, ya mo ngeme, deni ma yi ba, tu su ji shen da ji, da shi ya la mo si ba le se. Inda ji shi lo si ba res teni ma de ma sa da teni ma de ya sa da de ju ya ke ma da ta da de ji tu ya ma sa mo wa wa de.
Then if it is transformed, so if a non-thing is transformed into a thing, so if it is transformed, means that if a non-thing is transformed into a thing, then the state of a non-thing is either forsaken or not forsaken. So if it can be if a non-thing can be transformed into a thing, so the state of a non-thing, does the state of a non-thing forsaken or not forsaken? Has the state of is the state of a non-thing forsaken or not? So this is the questions, and here there are two. In these questions, then it talks about whether it is forsaken or not, right? So in the first case, so if the state of a non-thing is not forsaken, so in the so then the state then the state of a non-thing is either not forsaken or forsaken. So the meaning is exactly the same. It's just that the wording is slightly different. So is either not forsaken or forsaken. So in the first case, refer to not forsaken. So if the state of a non-thing is not forsaken, then how could that the state of a non-thing be a thing? For the states of being able and being unable to perform the functions are contradictory. So if the state of a non-thing is not forsaken, then how could a non-thing become a thing? So it will remain as a non-thing, right? So it will not transform into a thing. Then in the second case refers to the state of a non-thing is forsaken. So then it would transform into, and also it will remain as a non-thing, so therefore it will not become a thing. And since being a non-thing and being a thing are contradictory, And then in the second case refers to the state of a non-thing is forsaken, then it would transform into a thing, from a thing and a non-thing. So also, what is it other than the two causes? So if the state of a non-thing is forsaken, so it would either transform from a thing, because a non-thing would transform into a thing from either a thing or a non-thing. So transform from a thing and a non-thing means that this is the causes for such transformation, or the transformations of a non-thing into a thing. So it will either transform from a thing, or it would transform into a thing from a non-thing. So also, what is it other than the two causes means that there is no third possibility. So it would be either transformed from a thing or from a non-thing. So, and however, because this is impossible. So also, what is it other than the two causes? Then 4, this is impossible among the objects of knowledge. So this is not possible. We conclude with dedication. We dedicate these roots of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma, and to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to all upholders of Buddha Dharma, illustrated by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live beyond long, to have excellent health, and may all their enlightened activities and holy wishes be accomplished instantaneously and spread in all directions. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kyabshe Lama Sopa Rinpoche, and also Kyabshe Tisu Rinpoche, and also so may the unmistaken reincarnations, be swiftly found, and be swiftly returned, and be swiftly found. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to world peace, and may excellent happiness prevail throughout the world. May wars and conflicts, they are getting more and more intense. May all these, and together with other unconducive conditions, be pacified immediately.
Sabe Dewa Di Tenang Doa Kunla Kambe Nang Cheba Jizu Lozan Dama Yi Tembe Nimbo Rindo Seji Sho Chanchu Sencho Rimbo Chema Cheba Nang Ki Gyuji Cheba Nyama Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewa Sho Awe Jina Chema Dang Kundo Sambo Deyang Deshin De Deda Kunji Jizu Dalo Shekewa Deda Tangje Rabdo Ngo Tongi Tawa Rimbo Chema Cheba Nang Ki Gyuji Cheba Nyama Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewa Sho Tawa Rimbo Chema Cheba Nang Ki Gyuji Cheba Nyama Meba Yang Kone Kondo Pewa Sho Tongi Dinge Sumdu Jube Lang Cheche Sense Kanje Jenju Gen Chana Premo Tinzi Gazo La Sowa De So Jende Lendo Sho Pende Malu Ba Kale Jungwe Sambe Ishin No Kadin Sume Tinde Jazo La Sowa De So Tuje Lendo Sho Tabe Kemba Kese Yena Todo Sanke Wa Yam Seku Maje Raja Kingi Kayo Malu Be Tende Memba Dube Gene Yozo Dube Tute Rembo Je Jinjin Bewa La Naya Mishu Sume Kuja Jen Sume Jeje Lama Sowa De Pende Malu Jungwe Koje Koje Tenda Maju Dua Yitera Chito Semba Zebe Mono Pochi Wachi De Pang Wenda Chuzo Jazo Chinada Tuke Labo Jezo Me Tembe Yang Lu Sabe Zum Kesa Tuje Be Do Yushe Shu Rawi Kowe Shinkan De Penda Kewa Malu Jungwe Ne Jere Sewa Tenzin Gazo Isha De Sidi Patu Tengu Ji